A live studio audience is about to shoot unscripted questions. This is Agenda Kenya with Jason Nyantino.
On Agenda Kenya tonight, Honorable Nderitu Muridhi, Assistant Minister for Industrialization, Member of Parliament, Laikipia West. Honorable Dr. Kilemi Mwiria, Assistant Minister for Higher Education, Member of Parliament, Tigania West. Noah Chune, Research and Education Director, Central Organization of Trade Unions, KOTU. John Kiarie, Organizing Secretary, ODM, Nairobi County. Good evening and many thanks for joining us. Welcome to Agenda Kenya, your award-winning talk show. Tonight on this show, we focus on unemployment, one of Kenya's most critical challenges of our time. Do our political leaders have what it takes to solve this problem? My audience members come from different counties from across the country. Welcome aboard. Our first question is from Jacinta Ouma, who is a student.
In Kenya today, most of employment opportunities are not all about what you are capable of doing, but how much you are well connected up there. So my question is, what has the government done to ensure that employment is all about the level of competence, but not how much you are well connected with the people in power?
Thank you, Jacinta. Honorable Nderitu, can take that?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you. Just to paint a picture so we know the magnitude of the challenge. And I agree that unemployment is perhaps the biggest test of our nationhood today. Now, the labor force is 22 million people. Out of the 40 million Kenyans, those who are in the labor force, meaning they are of the age that they should be working, are 22 million people. Mm-hmm. Out of those, just a little over 2 million are employed in formal. Formal employment is where you work and you have a paycheck. Like, say, many of the panelists, people who get a paycheck at the end of the month. Mm-hmm. 2 million. About 8 million of us are in the informal sector. So we are juakali artisans, we hawk, we do all kinds of things in the informal sector. And the balance, nearly 10 or just slightly over 10 million people are unemployed. And that's why I'm saying to you, it is the biggest test of our time. The reason you see that competition for jobs becomes who you know, it is because of that magnitude of the challenge. And I think that in Kenya, and we as Kenyans, as we look at leaders and think about leaders, that should be our biggest question. Who has any decent clue of how we are going to solve it? How are we going to create 10 million jobs? Because that is the size of the number of Kenyans who have jobs.
Nderitu, from your experience as a member of Parliament, Assistant Minister, do you think Jacinta is right? I mean, you work in the public service, so have you seen people accessing jobs on the basis of who you know or on the basis of qualifications?
Not just in the public service, in the private sector and everywhere. Networking and networks, of course, count.
So it is true.
Hear me, please, Jason. Networks count for something. The reason you see Parliament legislating the way recruitment in the public service has to be done is to ensure that it is not just about you know someone and therefore you will become, say, the police commissioner, or you know somebody, therefore you will become an ambassador. The reason you see us creating law to create processes is to try and run away from that.
Okay, thank you. Let me hear from Dr. Mwiria first, because they represent government on this panel.
Yes.
Is it true that in this country, if you go to access a job, you must know somebody?
Well, let me say, Jacinta is both right and wrong. Firstly, I must say that it's very difficult to get a job in this country if you're not well connected. And sometimes it's not easy to get a job if you don't have the resources to buy that job. And we have seen this with the police, we have seen this in the military, we have seen it in a lot of places. But there are organizations of government that are trying some merit. I mean, we cannot say that all of them are the same. There's an attempt. But even then, it will also help if you know someone. I mean, this is a fact. What we
But
can do...
is that the right thing?
No, I don't agree with it. But I always say one thing. To solve a problem, you have to begin by accepting that there is a problem. And the problem is there. We cannot run away from that. So what we need to do now is to find ways of ensuring that there is fairness, there is merit, there is equity in the way we share resources. Because it is not fair for one family, just because your father was a policeman or your mother was policewoman, to be the only one that will get more police officers recruited from, or the military, and so on and so on. Mm-hmm. This is a serious problem. Okay. So let us find a system that is transparent, that is objective, and that is also publicized so Kenyans can know. But more importantly, the young people should play a role in ensuring that we have people in place who will implement that kind of policy. And your turn is through the ballot.
Yes, Dr. Mira, one question before KJ comes in. Do political leaders take responsibility for this problem? Do you, as a politician, do you take responsibility that there's a problem and I'm part of this? Tell us how you're going to solve it.
Well, I am part of it. Kenyans are part of it. Parents are part of it, because even parents go bribing. I mean, and people know that they'll find people who bribe. So it is something that we have to solve as a country. And I think politicians are not any more guilty than students who try to bribe in all sorts of ways, or their parents who will try and go buy jobs.
Thank you.
That's what my concern is, Jason, that what we have had so far in this show from government is actually just a narration of the problem. And we actually do know that the problem is there. It is big and it is alarming, even going by the figures that Waziri is giving us. Now, the issue is, as far as I'm concerned, the methods that we are using to tackle the problem of unemployment. And from where I sit, I believe that the methods we are using are actually very archaic. When you go and look at the publications that have been done by government, they are done by people who probably graduated from school in the 60s or in the 70s. Meaning that they read books that were written in the 40s or in the 30s. Meaning that even their teachers must have gone to school. The people who are teaching them or writing those books must have gone to school in the last century. So it means that the solutions that we are giving are not solutions of this century. Mm-hmm. Now, we start solving the problem by realizing that even from the education that we give our people, we are doing a disservice other than educating a population, where we get people go through 8 years of primary school, and anyone who does not make it through the academic qualifications is branded a loser. And at that point, you walk around the country with a mark on your face saying you are a failure. The same happens at Form 4, the same happens out of university, and what eventually happens is we produce an entire generation of failures. I believe that there are new ways of tackling.
Share with us those ways.
I can use one example that works. I believe that there is an opportunity in emerging technologies, in ICT. And one perfect example that I would like to use is the fact that the guy who has created this thing that we call Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, is a multi-gazillionaire, whatever currency you look at it in. He's started a community that is beyond bounds. Mm-hmm. He started a community that doesn't have boundaries. Whereas in Kenya, we are trying to absorb everyone into employment that is available. Okay. I believe that if we started teaching a new generation that you do not have to be employed in the government or in the civil service, that even from your mobile phone, you can start a multi-million Kenya shilling enterprise, then we will start walking the right way.
Thank you. Chume, the unemployment problem from as well as the trade union perspective where you see it, could you just give us your sentiment?
The unemployment problem in this country, as has been rightfully said by Kerry, is alarming. And I think one of the biggest problem with employment in this country is that the government puts more emphasis on macroeconomic stability rather than employment. They don't target employment as such. It is supposed to be a byproduct of growth. And we know we have had economic growth without employment. So I think the government should change to target employment directly rather than as a byproduct of growth or relating it to inflation and other macroeconomic variables.
Now, I have a question let me ask Dr. Muira one question. When did you go to Parliament? First time in Parliament?
Oh, yeah. I went to Parliament first time in 2002.
2002.
This is my 10th year.
If I have my facts right, you were in NAC.
Yes, I was in NAC.
Now, NAC promised Kenyans in 2002 500,000 jobs every year.
Yes.
Could you just give us a report?
Yes. Yeah. Firstly, let me say this. Let me first of all pick on where my friends left, and then as I answer that question, Nyantino, there's no doubt jobs are few. That we have to contend with that. But that does not mean we can't find a fair way of distributing those fair jobs. So we must get that right. It is that we have to come up with systems, and I'm one person who believes merit and fairness can solve a lot of those problems. Even when there are few jobs, if the population is convinced that it was given on the basis of merit and fairness, there will not be too many complaints. Secondly, we have to do things to make sure that we have many more jobs than the 2 million that Nyantino is talking about. And one of the ways I agree with him, the global village, ICT, but also training. There are a lot of opportunities out there in Europe, in Canada, in America, and those places for young people who have skills in carpentry, in masonry, in plumbing, in electrical work. And these are young people who have D's and C pluses and C minuses. As long as you have a certificate that is recognized. As the salary of a mason in Canada, for example, you are not branded a failure because you have been trained. Yes. You have a certificate. That's not a failure. Yes. And the salary of that kind of a person whom we brand a failure here is somewhere between 500,000 to 600,000 a month. And they are willing to take us. But we have to have those kinds of qualifications. Okay. So that's another broad area because this year alone.
About what NAC did.
Yeah, so and then of course growth, in terms of growth. So NAC promised jobs. But that promise was also premised on the understanding that we would be experiencing continuous growth. Initially, we did very well until we started arguing and fighting amongst ourselves. There cannot be growth and job creation if populations are fighting about elections, about this and that and that. And you see what happened from 2005, 2007 and 2008. So the problem that NAC did not continue that dream was much more about also the instability that resulted. It was impossible.
Okay, Dr. Muria, just hang on a minute. Dr. Muria is an expert.
In 2008,
give me time, please. I'll give you time.
In 2008, Jason,
give me time, please.
The manufacturing sector lost 90 million jobs in the course of 1 month.
Please respect the chair. Okay. Please respect the chair. I was saying Dr. Muria is an expert nowadays in sorrows and lamentations. I hope you're not going to give us these sorrows again if we are voted, because I'm sure you're running for office.
Yeah, I'm never an expert in sorrows and lamentations because I don't.
That's okay.
I would not tell the truth. This is why I tell the truth.
Quickly, Mheshimiwa, quickly.
Yes, sir. I have provided you information. You asked the Honorable Kilemi Muria what happened to the jobs, and he explained to you. First of all, these quarrels that we imagine we must keep quarreling amongst each other. In 1 month, 1 month alone, in January into February of 2008, the manufacturing sector lost 80,000 jobs. So, I mean, these are the facts. And Jason, let me finish. And I go to what KJ is saying, that yes, this system is based on exiting people. What is a 13, 14-year-old supposed to go home and do when you tell them they have failed standard 8? I think actually KJ should go to UDF because we tried to remove this exam a year and a half ago, and it is his party that blocked us because we believe. I mean, what is a 13-year-old supposed to go and do at home?
Okay, thank you.
I'll give it time. Remove class 8 exam. Let everybody go to secondary school.
You'll get time to respond. Mheshimiwa, thank you.
Time for a break now.
Take it easy. Time for a break now, but this discussion continues. Don't go away. Welcome back to Agenda Kenya with me, Jason Nyantino. Tonight we are focusing on the perennial problem of unemployment. Do our political leaders have what it takes to confront this problem once and for all? KJ, you wanted to respond to Honorable Nderitu's proposition.
Yes, because when we make an allegation, we've got to support it with facts. My good professor here will tell you that any logic is premised on good legs. And I'd like to say that there is a point that we should not lose. What Mr. Chune has said, that the concern of the NAC government was primarily to grow the economy. And this economy was to be grown regardless of the plight of the people. That's why we were registering such high economic growth in the first term of the NAC government, but the people were still living in basically in squalor, because the policies that were made were, to my mind, very elitist. That a small group of people grow with wealth and amass so much wealth, while the rest of the country is languishing in poverty. Now, what happens is eventually you end up with a very vibrant economy that does not create opportunities, and regardless of whether you have earned that opportunity by merit or not, to anyone else. So it was a closed group of individuals growing wealth among themselves, growing a very small wealthy class, and disregarding the middle class and the bottom of the pyramid. And that's why we ended where we are. However, Honorable Nderitu is making an offer here for me to join UDF, a party which is like, I think, 3 weeks old or 4 weeks old, of whose policies I don't know. And I've got to say that why I'm standing with ODM is the fact that I'm living the dream that grows the economy for the people at the bottom of the pyramid. The party that carries the legend of the Mau Maus who say Maisha Bora, your JM Karaoke's who say Maisha Bora, Oginga Odinga who said not yet Uhuru. That is what we are fighting for. And that
let me ask you,
yes.
let me ask him one question.
Let us go with the facts. Yes. Because the fact of the matter...
Let me ask him a question, please.
Okay.
In 2007, the same ODM that you are talking about promised Kenyans 300,000 new jobs for youth in 2008. Were those jobs created?
That's actually reflected in our manifesto. And you realize that what happened immediately after that, we went into an election. And we know what came out of that election. And it's a place we wouldn't want to take Kenya back to. So we do not have a fully ODM government. Because when you write a manifesto, you're a party willing to take over the reins of government so that you're able to offer that much. Remember that even when the sharing of government was done, there was a lot of hue and cry from the ODM side that there is very little that we're able to do with what we have. So yes, we did promise what we needed to do.
And you did
we could have created that much if we were truly
okay.
The
did you open the? You also promised. Your party promised. Let me finish with KJ. Let me finish with
But what has the party done?
Your party also promised to open job seeker offices around the country. Were those offices open?
Well, there are no job seekers offices opened, at least not pioneered by my party. Mm-hmm. But I'll say what my party has done towards achieving what it is that we asked to do. I've got to say that the majority involvement or the popular involvement is going to contribute a very big chunk in building the economy and also building opportunities for everyone. Okay. Now, if you're going to talk about Kenya as a population, we know that we are a very young country. So the sooner we start involving the younger generation in tackling the problems of this country, the sooner we start solving them.
The generation is here.
Yes.
So let's hear them. The generation is here. Let's hear their contributions.
Jason, honestly, I think it is only fair. It is only fair to let us set the record straight.
I'm going to give you time.
Because
I'm going to give you time.
A lie told 100 times and challenged becomes a truth. Listen.
Which lie is this?
This economy is creating 550,000 jobs annually. Right now. Are they enough? Of course they're not enough. But we are creating 550,000 jobs per year.
Right now.
Right now. Mm-hmm. The formal sector, listen to me, the formal sector is creating, the formal sector is creating 75,000 jobs. Just hear me. The informal sector is creating 420,000 jobs per year. The challenge I already alluded to by laying out the facts at the beginning of the show. We are starting with a pool of 12 million unemployed Kenyans. That's where we are starting. Every year, and I agree with KJ on that particular score, every year, more than 500,000 young people are removed from the education system by this colonial examination called KCPE, and they go into the pool of the unemployed. If you add those who are also leaving secondary schools, you will find the pool is growing at 700, 800,000 young Kenyans per year. So the jobs that we are creating are obviously not enough. What would be useful is for political leaders to put on the table credible ideas and solutions.
Okay, you've made your point.
Blame, and so on.
Mheshimiwa, you've made your point.
Is where we are.
You will respond. You will respond. The show is not over. So let's get to listen to the audience. The lady front, your name, comment or question, please.
Okay, my name's Rosemary Ahenda. I come from Siaya County, but for now I'm in Nairobi. My question goes to Honorable. You are saying there's jobs which are being given out from the government. Where are those jobs? Because tonight here, I'm very sure most of us here are youth and they are unemployed. We don't have jobs. So I wonder if you're saying there are jobs which are being given out by the government, foreign and what. Can you clarify?
Okay, I'll take 2 or 3, then we respond together. The gentleman here in...
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Nyantino from the National Theatre of Kenya and from 2013 Battalion Raila for President. There is one issue here that really makes me feel some shivers because Kenyans like beating about the bush. Mheshimiwa Nderitu, you're asking KJ to cross to UDF, but there is one thing. There is a document that makes Kenya, Kenya. This is the new constitution. That we know that through this new constitution, these jobs that we are asking are gonna be given. Because now that we are lacking jobs, a lot of people have come and they are here in the cities doing very little for this country. But when we do as the constitution dictates us to do, we know most of us will have a chance even to go and work in our rural areas, thereby developing our country. I do not really...
Okay, Otieno, I think you've made your point.
Not Otieno, Balotieno. Balotieno believes in scoring for Kenya a goal.
Okay.
Balotieno.
Thank you very much, sir. We go to this side now. The lady at the back.
And that's a speaker from the Party of Devolution.
My name is...
Created by devolution.
Okay, Jay, you talk when I give you time to talk.
Okay, my name is Tracy Njoroge, and I want to ask a question. When you talk about employment, we don't want to go to government offices. We don't want to be employed in maybe private sector, in maybe car industry or what. We want you guys to come up with policies which will involve the youth, to make opening up businesses or accessing capital to open up business easier. And if you're going to do agriculture, we want you guys, the politicians and the government, to come up with policies that will make sure when we produce our products, we directly export them, such that we are not harassed by middlemen or foreign exporters who come in and get a lot of money than us farmers. That is what we want, not formal employment.
Thank you. I'll take my last one. The gentleman in a tie.
Thank you. What I gather from the time we sit in here is that...
Your name, please.
I'm Nyanzwa CA, Communications Coordinator, High Rise Rovers Sports Club, Pumwani. It's like we're putting our cart before the horse. I don't know how they shall move. Right from primary up to university, the highest learning institution. What I'm getting is that we dropping out the youth along the line, and then we are saying there are no jobs. So is our education system in line with the requirements and demands of the job market in Kenya?
Thank you. I will start with you, Dr. Mwira. You can take that up immediately, then one or two others, then we'll start the debate.
Yes, I'll tie it to the point that was raised by Derito about the kind of education system that we have, and about also Keari also raised the same point. And I want to say this. Yes, it's indeed the case that we have a lot of young people graduating at KCPE and getting out there, and others from secondary schools with theoretical education. But as much as we blame education, let's also not forget training in itself does not create employment. You can train all sorts of people, but unless you've done whatever it takes to have an enabling environment and an economy that can absorb them, it doesn't matter, what kind of training. Even if you train carpenters and masons in rural areas, and there are no people building houses, or there's no demand for furniture, it will not help. So we must invest in sectors that will support that education. Secondly, in terms of the education system in this country, I must say that there are changes. I was coming from the Ministry of Higher Education, Science and Technology myself. We are now saying we have to have a technical training institute in every county. And now it's only 2 or 3 counties where we don't have. But that training will be modeled to the type of needs that are emerging in this country, so that you are trained in an area where agriculture is strongest, where we have certain industries and so on, where young people would then fit into those kinds of industries. So that training through those kinds of institutions will help. There are village polytechnics. Now there are youth polytechnics. Youth polytechnics, many constituencies have more than 5-10 of them. And again, is to empower young people with skills, not only for employment, but that they can use for the kind of self-employment you are talking about, so that you're on your own. Mm-hmm. But all that would not get us anywhere again unless we have opportunities and unless you have resources, even money to support that business, unless we help you to find markets, unless we support you to add value, and so on and so on and so on. So it is not just a matter of, say, training and employment. I want us to appreciate the complexity of the problem and to see how we can get it, all sectors of the economy, Ministry of Education and others, to try to create an environment that will resolve the problem.
Let me hear from Chuna before Mheshimiwa and the rest respond, especially about Mheshimiwa's proposition that jobs are being created. Are you seeing them yourself?
Yeah, I think when you talk about jobs, you should first of all understand the meaning of jobs. What is a job? And as far as we are concerned, many of the jobs that are being created are creating just groups of young people who you would call the working poor, because what they earn does not satisfy their needs. They don't satisfy their needs. A lot of these people, jobs you hear about, these people are earning below 10,000 shillings. What do you do with 10,000 as a family? So we don't talk about numbers only, but the quality of the job. How decent is the job?
Of course. Yes. It's important to note that the point that has been made by Ms. Njoroge is a very valid point, that individuals need to be able to be facilitated to start up businesses and be innovative in how they conduct businesses. Because I believe in this day and age, if you're a very innovative trader, or you're an innovative producer, there are ways of bypassing middlemen, even using technology. However, there is a part that the society or the population needs to play. But I still believe that government has a very key role to play in facilitating for opening up opportunities for individuals. And how they do that is by making it possible for as many people to be producers. What is happening right now with the regimes that we have is the fact that the few who can produce are actually taxed so heavily to a point that they cannot even be of benefit to themselves, leave alone their families and their extended families. It has even gotten to a place where we are being told that there is going to be a massive movement of some of the most, some of the people who we are most proud of as a nation. The athletes in Kenya today are threatening to change nationality because of the taxing regime that is going to be imposed on them. They realize that if they start winning races, if the KRA starts taxing them for winning the races, they are better off moving on to Bahrain or elsewhere. And that's what's happening with many professionals. They're either cutting corners with their taxation or deciding to not pay it altogether.
Thank you, KJ. Let me go to Honorable Nderito. There were 2 questions for you. 1, you need to tell us where the jobs you were talking about are. 2, there was a question from Madam Njoroge about creating policies, especially the agricultural sector. Are there policies to create those jobs you're talking about? Quickly, please.
Yeah, thank you. But let me start. Is the education system fit for purpose? Is it fit for it isn't. Yeah? It isn't. The education system that exits 500,000 kids at 14 and 15 years old at class 8 cannot be a sensible education system. Personally, Personally, I am on record. I want us to remove KCPE. I want every child to get to Form 4. And I think secondary school education should be free. And we must get every child to Form 4.
Please respond to these two questions.
Where are the jobs? Are the jobs with government? Rosemary, the purpose of government will never be the one employing. The purpose of government is to create an environment where your business, your neighbor's business, my business, and any other business expands and grows, and it is the jobs are created by those companies or those enterprises expanding and growing.
Okay.
That is why, for example, I am on record saying we should put money to small business. If we are serious as a country, unless we can support small business, because you see, the population of small business is large. 5 million informal sector businesses by some counts. If you help these businesses just grow by one job, you have created 5 million jobs.
Thank you.
If we are serious, let's put money.
No, I need to take a break.
Why should those businesses pay taxes if the member of parliament is not paying taxes?
I'll come to you. Time for a break now, and if you're watching us, it is the right time to participate in this lively discussion by answering this question. Do you think our political leaders have the capacity to fight unemployment? Do you think our political leaders have the capacity to fight unemployment? Text your answer to the number on your screen, give us your name and where you're watching us from. We will be right back. Welcome back to Agenda Kenya with me, Jason Nyantino. Tonight we are focusing on the question of unemployment, one of the critical challenges of our time. And we want to know if our political leaders have what it takes to confront this problem. My next question is from Senya Neville, who is an entrepreneur.
My question goes this way. How comes the government does not protect the interest of young Kenyans who invent ideas and are not protected?
Young Kenyans who invent ideas, are they protected? I'll have to come to Honorable Nderitu, that's your area, yes. Then we spread the debate. And I'll give you two examples as you respond. We had a young man called Evans Wadongo, who is a CNN hero actually, Freedom Project hero, who invented solar-powered lantern. I don't know that you know about him. We have another young Kenyan called Anthony Mutua, who used shoes technology to charge phones. So how do you pick up these creative ideas and turn them into an economic success story?
Thank you. Firstly, Ms. Njoroge, the kind of policy that will help create jobs is the policy that promotes Kenyan products, so that whatever you're producing is consumed. The Kenya as a nation, we import things worth something like $15 billion a year. You know, it is crazy. We as Kenyans must buy Kenya and build Kenya. The next time you see your politician, find out if the furniture in his office is built here in Kamkunji or at Dagoretti, because people are importing furniture from India and China, and they shouldn't.
Okay.
How do you protect your ideas, Neville? Please, and I want to encourage Kenyans, whatever you are doing, come or go to the Kenya Industrial Property Institute. These are a government organization that registers patents, that registers trademarks, that registers industrial design. Whatever you are doing, before you start selling it, please go and register it so that nobody can steal your idea.
Okay.
Please. And it is essentially free.
Thank you, Mr.
So just come.
That's clear.
I think it's important to note that I'm saying that today's problems have to be solved with today's solutions. What is happening at KIPE is a traditional registering of trademarks and copyrights. I can talk for myself that invention is not just making a scientific discovery or discovering M-Pesa. I would say that there is an invention in creating a piece of music. There is invention in creating a television show. I as an artist, copyright my name and call myself ridiculous. And I copyright it, and I go to Kipi, and it is a trademark. However, when I go to the market, for every million shilling that I'm making, the pirate is making 4 million Kenya shillings. This pirate is in every sense protected by the government because he operates in a premise that is given a license by the government. Okay. The police make a beat outside his office every day. They know that he is producing contraband material, but the government is doing nothing to protect.
So the laws are weak.
They are weak, and then they are very archaic because who is protecting the artists today? Okay. When I'm doing a show as an artist, I'm employing close to 100 people per show. I'm employing a producer, I'm employing a creative director, I'm employing a makeup person, I'm employing a writer, and these are emerging inventions that are being done by a generation of Kenyans. And I'm sure in every single county, we are able to even make up studios and entertainment centers that are run by youth from those counties.
Thank you, KJ.
But they're not protected.
Yeah, thank you.
Dr. Muri.
Yeah, and I'm glad KJ spoke about sports. I want to say this is a big industry. You know, as we look for opportunities for our youth people, for our young people, let's also go into academies so that we can have black Balotellis like this one here, you know, utilize his talent. And you know what how many opportunities are there. So sports academies for any talent, including creative arts, including drama, you know, tennis and swimming. There are many young people who are not getting the opportunity, in addition to the industries and the formal employment we are talking about. Secondly, I would react to my friend, Derito, my colleague, on that we need to get our kids to go to Form 4, then we don't have a problem. And I will again repeat, education is not what creates employment. Because the ones who go to Form 4 will still need jobs even when they graduate from Form 4. And we have Form 4s who have no jobs. And as a matter of fact, in this country already, 70% of the young people who are graduating from primary are making it to secondary school because of the many day schools that we are starting. So most of our young people are going to secondary school. That is not a problem. But I also want to say, on intervention and protection, yes, the Ministry of Higher Education, Science and Technology has a program to support young innovators, some of whom you have mentioned. We support them in the tune of 500,000 to 4-5 million shillings to grow their invention,
so what does
to expand.
What does it take for them
and
to
get publicize?
Support?
What is you have to apply? You have to do an application. Okay. You have to do an application, and we have a show every year. We have an exhibition where young people show up their talents because we want to protect them. We want to link them up to people who can invest in that, and we want to give them publicity so Kenyans can know. So we are already doing that, which was not happening.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa. I need to take my next question. My next question is from Anne Mercy Kariuki.
Thank you so much. My name is Anne Mercy. I'm a teacher and a university student, Kenyatta University student. Now, there are very many Kenyans who are looking for jobs elsewhere, and especially the unskilled labor, like talk of maybe Saudi Arabia. Now, my question is, what is the government doing to ensure that these people are protected in their countries of destination? In other words, are there policies? Are these recruiting agencies? Are they legal? Are they licensed? That is my question.
Before the representatives of the government respond, I want Chune to... Kotu has commented about this before. Kotu has actually said the recruitment agencies which recruit Kenyans out there, especially in the Middle East, we need to know who they are and we need to know their activities. What is Kotu's position?
Yeah, in the current labor laws, I think they have recruitment agents involved. But the problem has been that the rights of workers who go and work abroad are not protected. Mm-hmm. And we have been appealing to the Ministry of Labor to ensure that the people going to work out there are given knowledge about their rights and obligations, and that the embassies in these countries should also monitor how Kenyans are treated in these countries. But the way it has been done in the past, it was not even going for employment, it was trafficking, where these agencies will take your documents and send you out there, and then you find you are locked up with an employer you don't know, and the job you are promised you don't get it. You are given something else. So unless those issues have been settled, I think there will be no need to continue taking our labor out there.
KJ, two things from Anne's question. There's unskilled labor that is taken out there. There's also skilled labor, which is the brain drain as we know it. Very quickly, what do you think is how do we arrest this problem?
I think what we have today is a regime that is running Kenyans out of this country, in the sense that if any individual was given an opportunity in Kenya, they have no business to go and become a housemaid in Saudi Arabia. So this is a product of desperation. If this individual had something they would do here, they would actually do it here. And I'm thinking that how we start solving the brain drain issue is first by realizing that we need to change the narrative of employment in Kenya. We need to start telling people from a very high level that jobs are not only the jobs that exist, that jobs can be created, so that government does its role, but also the public takes its space in taking in bringing up new opportunities and new ways of creating jobs. Okay. However, it cannot all be lamented that everyone who goes out there, it's a bad thing. We realize that out of the people living in diaspora, Kenya is raking in close to 70 billion shillings every year of money being remitted back to this country.
Which is a good thing.
Which is a good thing. Yeah. Another good thing is that we have exported a president to the most powerful public in the world.
Thank you. Honorable Nderitu, could you please give us the government position about this, the exporting of unskilled and skilled labor?
Well, you know, the way things are going, Jason, it sounds like government does nothing. So I wonder if we were to listen to KJ. Listen, first of all, when you buy a DVD around the corner, and that DVD is not original in the sense that the owner of the copyright is the one selling, you can end up in jail. And you can end up in jail for up to 5 years. Secondly, protection of your intellectual property is not just KIPI. If you are an artist, copyright comes into play. If you, for example, you graft a variety of a plant, then you go to KEFIS, Kenya Plant is, you know. So there are a variety of methods to protect your ideas.
That is
Please
clear,
do
Mr.
so.
Please respond.
Yeah,
to what
I am
asked
going to the question of Kenyans working outside this country and what government's position is. Of course, the responsibility of any state, the responsibility of any government is to the citizens, to its citizens. So is Kenya looking to ensure that Kenyans, wherever they work, are protected? The answer is yes. Two things we have to appeal also to Kenyans, because many Kenyans go to other countries and the government offices there, the embassies and so on, are not aware. So we keep encouraging Kenyans to identify so that the embassies and the government is able to follow. Finally, so we do encourage, for example, the reason we are in the East African common market, agreeing with our brothers and sisters in East Africa, is for free movement of workers, so that you can be able to go to Dar es Salaam or go some other place in Kampala and work. We are expanding this to COMESA, and we are further expanding this to COMESA, EAC, and SADC. So our formal position is to create opportunities here and overseas. But when you go there, please do identify yourself.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa.
Also, thank you to diaspora.
All right, thank you for that. And that
$900 million.
That does it for Agenda Kenya this week. I thank my panel, my studio audience for that wonderful discussion, and to all of you at home for watching. You can still be part of this debate by responding to this question. Do our political leaders have the capacity to tackle the question of unemployment? Do our political leaders have the capacity to tackle the problem of unemployment? You know the drill. Text your response to the number on your screen, together with your name and where you're watching us from. You can also extend this discussion on our Facebook and Twitter pages, and let's get to know what you think. And until next week, goodbye.